Everyone thinks this is about oil, Venezuela, sanctions, military pressure, markets falling. But oil is just the headline. The real story is buried underground, in minerals you've probably never heard of, in supply chains you never see, and in a future most people aren't prepared for. This isn't about what powers your car. It's about what will power the next 50 years of civilization. Tonight, we're going to talk about why the world is shaking, why markets are nervous, and why what's happening around Venezuela may be the opening move of a much bigger global battle. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Coal powered the British Empire, oil built the American century. Rare minerals will decide the next era. Every global power rises by controlling the most important resource of its time. Let's slow down here, because this pattern is uncomfortable once you see it. The British Empire didn't conquer half the world because it was morally superior. It did so because coal powered its factories, its ships, and its railroads faster than anyone else. Coal wasn't just energy. It was logistics, industry, and military mobility rolled into one. Then came oil. The moment oil replaced coal, the center of power shifted. Control the oil routes. Control the 20th century. This is why wars weren't fought randomly in the Middle East. This is why borders were drawn strangely. This is why alliances suddenly made sense. But here's the critical detail most people miss. Every time the world transitions to a new dominant resource, there is chaos before stability. Not because leaders are evil, but because systems built on old resources start collapsing. That's where we are today. Oil hasn't disappeared. It's just no longer enough. In the 1800s, coal in the 1900s, oil in the 2000s and beyond. Critical minerals, not luxury, not optional, but absolutely essential. Let's be honest, oil still matters, a lot, but oil doesn't build. AI chips, EV batteries, missiles, satellites, quantum computers, those require lithium, nickel, cobalt, rare earth elements, coltan. And here's the problem. These materials are not evenly distributed around the world. Some countries have them, most don't. And Venezuela? Venezuela has more than oil. Let's make this real for a moment. The phone in your pocket. It doesn't work without coltan. Your electric car. It doesn't exist without lithium and nickel. Modern missiles, satellites, medical scanners, data centers, none of them function without specific minerals. These aren't luxury materials. They're bottlenecks. And bottlenecks are power. Venezuela's mineral wealth is dangerous not because it's large, but because it's underdeveloped. Untapped resources attract attention. Attention attracts pressure, and pressure attracts global players. This is why instability around resource-rich nations is rarely accidental. It's not about today's output. It's about who controls tomorrow's production. Most people know Venezuela as an oil state, a political crisis, a failed economy. But underneath the chaos lies something else. Venezuela sits on massive gold reserves, large coltan deposits used in smartphones, EVs, military tech, strategic mineral corridors still undermapped. This is the kind of resource profile that gets superpowers nervous, because whoever stabilizes, influences, or controls access to these resources shapes future supply chains, controls prices, gains geopolitical leverage. Here's the part most news channels skip. No modern power wants old-style wars. They want strategic positioning. This means legal pressure, sanctions, political leverage, corporate access, infrastructure influence. Control doesn't always look like invasion. Sometimes it looks like contracts. This is why actions by leaders like Donald Trump make markets nervous. Not because of one country, but because of what others might do next. Markets don't wait for wars. Here's a truth most people don't like to hear. Markets are not patriotic. They are not ideological. They don't care who wins elections. Markets care about predictability. The moment a region becomes unpredictable, capital starts leaving. Not loudly, not dramatically. That's why market crashes often look irrational in hindsight. They're not reacting to facts. They're reacting to risk probabilities. And geopolitical uncertainty is one of the highest risks that exists. Markets react to uncertainty, disruption, shifts in power. When investors see resource instability, political escalation, supply chain threats, they don't ask who is right. They ask what breaks first. So they sell stocks, emerging assets, risk positions, and they buy gold, cash, defense, and energy hedges. Markets aren't emotional. They're defensive. Here's the quiet part. When one major power moves, others don't protest loudly. They respond silently, stockpiling minerals, securing trade routes, signing long-term supply contracts, accelerating domestic production. This isn't chaos, it's preparation. And preparation means the world expects more tension, not less. Preparation doesn't make headlines. You don't see breaking news saying, Country X quietly secured 20 years of mineral supply. But that's exactly how modern power moves. Governments prepare like chess players. They don't react emotionally. They reposition silently. This is why silence is often more dangerous than speeches. When leaders stop talking, they're usually planning. This isn't Iraq. This isn't Afghanistan. Those were about territory and ideology. This moment is about technology, supply chains, economic survival. The battlefield today isn't land. It's factories, ports, data centers, mining licenses. You can lose a war without firing a shot, simply by losing access to what your economy needs. That's why this era feels different. Because it is. The next superpower won't be the one with the biggest army, but the one that controls chips, energy, data, materials. That's why this moment matters. No predictions, just probabilities. We're likely to see more economic pressure, not less resource-based alliances, regional instability around mineral-rich nations, volatile markets, on and off, not collapse, not apocalypse, but turbulence. Let's end with this. The world is not breaking. It's reorganizing. And whenever power reorganizes, there is fear, there is volatility, there is opportunity. Oil is the excuse. Politics is the theater. The real story is the fight for the future. If you think this was only about oil, now you know why it isn't. And if you're watching markets, geopolitics, or global power shifts, this story has only just begun.